All clear. Dispatch.
I recently came back from a trip in Australia where I was able to get on 8 roller coasters across 3 separate theme parks. Unfortunately, some of the rides I wanted to get on were closed, such as Leviathan. These rides will be considered honorable mentions in this list. Also, on a side note, I was able to get on some special seats, such as the DC Rivals backwards seat, so I will talk about them too on this list. Also, if you have not been to any Australian theme parks, it is important to note that they will staple you regardless of the ride. This is mandatory, as they take safety extremely seriously there, and they will have to staple you, even if you request for them not to. But that is enough with that. So for now, this is my ranking of all the roller coasters I experienced in Australia. For honorable mention number 1, I have Leviathan at SeaWorld. It had an unexpected closure when I went, and it remained down after I left Australia several days later. It looks nice, and the theming looks spectacular. However, guests actually don't have too high regards for it. When I asked some people about it, they actually found it to be rough and unenjoyable, which certainly surprised me. I definitely wish I could have ridden it, but after hearing what I've heard, I'm not completely devastated about it. For honorable mention number 2, I have Green Lantern at Warner Bros. Movie World. This ride closed the morning I went, before the park even opened, and similar to Leviathan, had maintenance that lasted several weeks. It was definitely smaller than I thought, but the sign and entrance looked nice, especially with the bit of rock work that I saw outside of the entrance. For honorable mentions 3 and 4, I have Kansas Twisters. Once again, closed prematurely like the others. For honorable mention number 5, I have Flight of the Wicked Witch. I wanted to ride it, but the line was averaging 1 to 1.5 hours long, and the DC Rivals only had a 15-minute queue, so you can obviously see why I chose the latter. For honorable mention number 6, I have Kenny's Forest Flyers. Way too long of a line, once again averaging 1 to 1.5 hours, it was not worth it to ride it. And lastly, a honorable or dishonorable mention goes to Moto Coaster, which, just like the others, closed prematurely. For my number 8 ranking, I have SpongeBob's Boating School. It's a kiddie coaster, nothing special, has a slight bit of theming which isn't terrible, but at the end of the day, it's only a statistic and a credit. For number 7, I have Roadrunner Roller Coaster. This coaster was also pretty well themed, and the lap bars are actually surprisingly comfortable. Cycling the ride does take a while, which is a bit frustrating, but I think it's a good warm-up ride, or one to hop on when there is no line, because unfortunately, it does get a bit of a line occasionally. I was able to get on it once after waiting 27 minutes in the queue for it. For number 6, I have Gold Coaster. This coaster is only here because of the last 2 inversions. If I didn't count those 2, this would be dead last. My biggest issue with this coaster is the fact that the restraints hurt. They dig into your shoulders and collarbones and leave a mark, which is absolutely atrocious. Along with that, it's just as janky as an SLC. It bangs you around, it's forceless, and it's just overall not worth the wait. We'll say there is a decent sense of speed, but it isn't worth waiting in a long line for. The station is interesting with the full-fledged doors too, with a long spiral up to the entrance, with a lot of emergency exits, but overall, this ride is just... Please, just don't go on it. Please. Alright, and for the number 5 spot, I have Jungle Rush. This was a pretty fun ride with some nice theming and really comfortable restraints. I was able to go on it once, however the ride had to be shut down soon after due to technical difficulties. I was able to ride it backwards. The track is smooth, the course is well paced, but it is unfortunately pretty short. I will say it does have a decent pop of airtime near the end, but I just wish it was longer with more forces and maybe a bit more airtime. For my number 4 spot, I have Jet Rescue. This was a really fun coaster with some of the best laterals out of any ride in Australia. The restraints are non-restrictive and comfortable. The pacing was phenomenal. The launch out of the station was nice, and it's a very snappy ride throughout. It's well paced with a good layout and decent length, and the cars are really well designed. However, I was a little disappointed by the second launch. It felt more like straight track rather than a launch, and I didn't feel any acceleration. Would have been cool if they made it like a launched airtime hill similar to Tatus or Pantheon, but it's still a very fun ride regardless. For number 3, I have Superman Escape. This was a hard one, deciding whether I should put it in number 2 or 3, but I think 3 suits it more. This easily has the best theming out of any ride in Australia, but in all honesty, theming doesn't mean too much to me. This ride has the best launch out of any of the rides in Australia, and it's very punchy. I'd compare it to going 0 to 60 in a Tesla pushed against the back of your seat the whole time. The top hat has amazing airtime throughout every part of the train, and the sense of speed is beyond incredible. The airtime is superb, the theming is nice, flying in and out of the building is fun too. However, I think that the ride at the number 2 spot just does a few things better. For my number 2, I have Steel Taipan. A lot of people would disagree with me on this, but I put it there simply for the Blue Fire roll, or as I like to call it, the Taipan roll. I don't know who thinks it's forceless or dull, but it's really nice. I didn't feel like it was being dragged on too long, and actually enjoyed getting a second to think about how off guard I was taken. The restraints are comfortable, and the train looks very nice too. Spike was a nice addition, and the laterals nearing the mid-course brake run were nice as well. Also, the mid-course didn't slow us down, which was great. I will say though, it's not as forceful as a lot of people make it seem to be, and I didn't even get close to graying out. But the layout is put together beautifully. The horseshoe rolls are nice and whippy, and all of the elements just connect beautifully. Plus, at the very end, it has one of the greatest inversions I've ever experienced, the Blue Fire roll. It was spectacular, with airtime, laterals, and whip all connecting to make a beautiful inversion. The tail whip seat was incredible too, especially taking the Blue Fire roll backwards and the horseshoe roll sideways. It wasn't out of control, but spun in a way that made it a lot more intense than the standard seats. However, this coaster is second only to one in Australia. And for my number 1, I have Flash Speed Force. Just kidding. For my number 1, I have DC Rivals. Everything about this ride is just perfect. It's smooth, it's long, it's forceful, and contrary to popular belief, the middle does not slow us down too much. The mock trains are comfortable and snug, the drop has some great airtime, and the not inverting loop has the second best whip in the southern hemisphere. The Camelback has some nice sustained ejector and floater, and the middle section combines airtime with laterals in a way that takes your breath away. The Helix was forceful and not lackluster, and I don't know who in their right minds thinks so. I got 8 laps in, and each one was better than the last. The backward seat was incredible too. It wasn't as insane as some people think, but I was grinning from ear to ear starting from the first drop. It has great backwards ejector airtime, and the final bunny hills give such a satisfying ending. It is just such a fun, complete coaster. It's incredible. And with that, that is all for this video. Thank you all for your patience whilst I made this video. And if you have any disagreements or comments, please let me know in the comment section. If you wish to and want to see more ranks in the future, I'd encourage you all to subscribe, but no pressure. See you all again soon. Thank you for watching.